Hey, CJ, it's Scott.
Who?
Scott, the guy you do a podcast with, the guy you went to Europe with, that guy.
Oh, that's Scott. Oh, so I thought I blocked that number. Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, I guess. We need to have a little chat about what we're doing for the next episode.
Well, in my usual well thought through and planned way,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, based on the time of year, it's a great opportunity to do a Christmas episode.
Oh, okay, a Christmas episode. What do you have in mind?
I don't know, I got nothing. Any ideas?
Actually, I've got the perfect thing.
Sweet.
Leave it to me.
All right, awesome. This is like a double win. This is my Christmas present. I get to do a Christmas episode and I don't have to do any work.
And I usually don't give any gifts. This is me.
And this is me.
And welcome to...
What's my age again?
So, what's in store for us this episode?
Well, as you'll remember from the phone call that we recorded a while ago, this is an episode about Christmas. And you were doing all the work to put it together.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, I did do that. What we are going to talk about today is something that's near and dear to my heart. Religious scams.
That didn't go in the direction I was expecting it to. While that sounds like a tautology, that doesn't sound very Christmassy.
Well, Christmas is a scam as far as I'm concerned. I think it's very Christmassy.
All right, thank you, Scrooge McScroogey Grinch. Welcome, everyone, to the What's My Age Again Christmas episode.
Ho, bloody ho.
But first, beer.
I like beer because it is good. I drink beer because I should. If there was a song to sing, I sing it and beer you bring. I drink beer when I am sad, because the beer, it makes me glad. Now there's nothing left to say, so let's go drink beer.
So, CJ, what's your beer again?
My beer today, Scott, is an Origin of Darkness
Scary.
by a brewery called Collective Arts, Cloudwater Brew Company.
Right.
I chose Origin of Darkness because it fits in nicely with our topic of scams. And it sounded quite good. It's 10.8%, a port barrel aged Imperial Spout. A port barrel aged Imperial Stout with Vital Ice Wine. So it's I think it's a collaboration actually between Collective Arts and Cloudwater Brewing. Collective Arts Brewing are out of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which is not where Brett the Hitman Hart is from.
Right.
He's from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Oh, okay. Sorry, if I sounded slightly distracted there, it's because I'm looking at what ice wine is.
Oh, okay. I think ice wine is, if I had to guess, which I do, it's where they make wine, they freeze it, and the watery bits freeze and the alcohol bits don't. And so then they scoop off the watery bits, leaving the alcohol bits, and then they do it again, and they do that a few times to get a more and more dense alcohol.
Well, your guess isn't far off the mark. The grapes are left on the vine into winter, and eventually the water in the grapes freezes. And the frozen grapes are picked and pressed so that the juice is very high in sugar, and it's made into wine, which is luscious and sweet. So, pretty close, really.
Oh, okay.
Because looking at here, it says Vital Ice Wine or Vital Ice Wine, a stellar ice wine which encompasses fantastic aromas of floral notes, honey, candied orange peel, peach and apricot. You'll find intense flavors of pineapple, lychee, and honey on the palate, as well as a voluptuous texture, a truly delicious dessert wine. So apparently it's a dessert wine.
Okay. We'll cut out all that bit then that I just said that's completely incorrect.
Well, I thought your guess was surprisingly close, so kudos to you.
So, how does it taste, you ask? Well, using my my go-to description of a thick, stout beer, it pours like the sump oil from a 1974 Ute.
Right.
So, nice and thick. And it is to taste... Oh, shit, it smells good. Holy shit. That is actually amazing.
Oh.
Imperial Stout can often be bitter.
Right.
But it's not bitter at all. It's got some kind of sweetness to it, which actually might be the honey thing from the ice wine that you were saying. But it's kind of not sweet either. So it's like the bittery bits and the sweet bits have balanced each other out,
Okay.
creating a perfectly aligned taste sensation.
Wow.
That's really good. I would actually put that up against my Once More Into the Fray from Deeds Brewing. Almost.
High praise indeed.
It's extraordinarily good. I only got one can of it, so I will be going out sometime in the next couple of days to search for more cans of it.
Very good.
Good work, Collective Arts and Cloudwater Brewing. And it wasn't stupidly priced either. It's like a normal size can, and it was, I want to say, $13 or something.
That's good.
I might say that's why Collective Arts and Cloudwater Brewing are still in business, and other ones aren't.
Yeah.
They're charging $37 for a can. Anyway, moving on. What's your beer, Scott?
My beer again is from the Lord Nelson Brewery Hotel.
They featured on
What's My Beer Again previously when I had their 3 Sheets Pale Ale.
Yes.
But this is a MacNelson Scotch Ale.
Uh-huh.
And it has strong malt flavours, a smooth bitterness with subtle earthy hop aromatics, and it's brewed with a yeast strain from Edinburgh.
Sounds like a woman I used to go with.
What's a Scotch ale, I hear you ask? Because I didn't know. Did you know what a Scotch ale was?
It's a ale that's made in Scotland.
Thank You Beer Expert.
A Scotch ale is overwhelmingly malty with a rich and dominant sweet malt flavour and aroma. A caramel character is often part of the profile. Some examples feature light smoked peat flavour.
Uh-huh.
This style could be considered a Scottish version of an English-style barley wine.
Right. So, yes, clearly I did not know.
I'm having this and finding it very palatable.
Uh-huh.
I think you would find this interesting.
Okay.
I know that you'd find a lot of my beers rather pathetic. I think this would impress you.
No, I think you did.
You may not like it, but I think you would be impressed with the interestingness of it.
Okay. I don't mind a Scotch ale. I didn't realise that was that's what was behind it. It probably explains why I like them, because I like malty and caramelly.
Yeah, okay. So that's What's My Beer Again for this episode.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
But back after the break. Okay, so we're back, and this segment is our occasional history segment, which, as some listeners would know, history is my thing.
And occasional is my thing.
And because of our theme of scams, I thought I'd look at some historical scams, just so you'd realise that scams aren't really a new thing at all. Nothing new under the sun.
So, in fact, I would suggest that the scams that are around today, there's not really anything new in them. They're just kind of digital versions or updated versions of scams that have been around forever.
Well, I don't know you're going to be able to do that with this one, CJ, because the Christian church has been scamming people for centuries. And I don't just mean getting us to believe in an imaginary man in the sky. Because back in the Middle Ages, the church was really hustling. They sold everything from what amounts to get-out-of-jail-free cards on sin. Like one religious nut was selling these what's called indulgences, and he said that they could absolve the sins of someone who'd raped the Virgin Mary. So they'd sold these indulgences, and they also did quite a big trade in fake religious relics.
Right.
This happened for a couple of reasons, because during the Middle Ages, 2 religious beliefs came together in a perfect storm that allowed the church to scam everybody big time. One was the idea that merely just admitting that you'd done a sin was good enough to get absolution. You had to have punishment as well. Mm-hmm. That was one thing. And the other belief was the existence of a place called purgatory, which is this sort of netherworld between hell and heaven. Mm. And you just sit there in this waiting room until your time is up. So the only way you can get out of purgatory is having people pray for you.
Right.
Which is why the church was so big on having masses where you pray for the people who'd passed away, because we had to get them out of purgatory.
Right.
But there was another way of getting people out of purgatory, and that was the indulgence I mentioned earlier.
Uh-huh.
The concept for that was that Jesus, who could do no wrong, and the saints, who were pretty damn good themselves, they'd racked up a lot of brownie points. So what they basically did was say, okay, well, it's a bit like carbon trading. You've committed a lot of sins. Jesus has a lot of credit. You can buy some of Jesus' credit and you can get out of purgatory.
Uh-huh.
So basically, for a small one-off payment, or actually probably a large one-off payment, sinners could buy indulgences from the church that exempted them from this punishment, and they went straight to heaven, do not pass go, do not collect $200.
Right.
But people who were not rich enough for this were able to pay a little bit and get a little bit of credit.
That doesn't sound like the church at all.
They had a scam that suited every budget. But indulgences weren't the only church scam, because in the medieval church, relics of Jesus and the saints, and that means things like their bones or fragments of the true cross, all that kind of stuff, these were significant religious items, and they also drove the economy of the church because each church or cathedral would claim to have like a piece of the true cross or something that belonged, the bones of St. Gigachad or something, I don't know. And people would go to these places and they could scam money out of them to go and see the bones of St. Gigachad or pray over the piece of the true cross.
Right.
So, and there were these people had pilgrimages from place to place, and that created a lot of revenue for the churches and monasteries.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when they got them in there, they could upsell them on some more indulgences.
Right.
The veneration of these relics became a real part of the church's financial security. Now, some of these sacred objects were particularly unusual, with one church offering to sell you vials of the Virgin Mary's breast milk, which apparently had miraculous properties.
Well, it must have had, if it had been around in that long without refrigeration and still been okay. That's pretty miraculous in itself.
There's a guy called St. Bernard. I don't know if he's related to the dog, but he famously claimed to have had a vision of the Virgin Mary nursing him with her milk, and this had deepened his spiritual connection to her. In fact, he also claimed that Mary had appeared to him in a vision and cured him of an eye infection by giving him a quick spritz from the boob.
You sure you weren't looking at Pornhub?
I'm going to send you a picture.
No, don't.
No. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste into our chat, and you're going to explain to me what you see.
Or am I?
Okay, so CJ, please click on the link and tell me what you see.
This is quite ironic that's your instruction, considering we're doing a thing on scams. Well, there's something that's here every day. Looks like something out of Monty Python.
Well, yes, absolutely.
It's a. Are you sure it's not a Terry Gilliam?
No, it's a real deal.
Photo?
From 1680.
Right. With all the severed heads.
I don't know what that's all about.
I like the fact that my takeaway is there's a lot of severed heads when there's two people sucking on the tits of what I assume to be Mary.
Yeah, one of them is a child.
Oh, is it?
Which you'd expect. I think that's supposed to be Jesus.
Oh, okay.
The other one is a bald, bearded dude.
Yeah.
Looks like he's out of, sort of Sons of Anarchy or something.
Well, that's probably the sort of behaviour that would come from people out of Sons of Anarchy, especially with all the severed heads.
So anyway, that was that breast milk of Mary was one of the venerated relics. Would you like to guess what one of the other most venerated relics was, CJ?
Jesus' penis.
Correct.
You say correct or erect?
Well, not quite, only part of Jesus' penis.
This isn't the Jesus' foreskin as the rings around Saturn.
It's not that. It's
okay.
Not all the rings around Uranus. It is, in fact... Okay, so his foreskin was held in more than a dozen churches across Europe, which is pretty amazing for one little boy's foreskin.
Well, if the story that his foreskin is actually the rings around Saturn, which is the thing that's kicking around at the moment, Well, also, it doesn't make sense because if it's his foreskin, why didn't it go with him when he ascended?
Well, because it's cut off him, I guess. But yes, I can see your reasoning there, and it does make sense. But according to Christian tradition, as a Jew, Jesus was circumcised, and naturally, something so intimately related to the Son of God didn't just vanish into thin air, unless it became the rings around Saturn. But it was such a popular relic that many churches decided that was a sweet piece of scam action that they wanted a piece of. So they all decided to claim that they possessed this sacred bit of shriveled
Genitalia.
and there was definitely more foreskin than one little boy could provide floating around Europe.
I have to say that's a sentence I never expected to hear.
This all kicked around for a long time, became a bit of an embarrassment for the church, and by the early 20th century, the Pope decided he would excommunicate anybody who ever spoke or wrote of Jesus' foreskin again.
That explains why it doesn't get talked about then.
It's not the only church scams or the last church scams, but they're the ones I decided to talk about today. So
Right.
there you go, CJ.
So, going on, the current scams are just digital upgraded versions of old scams. The indulgences one, I reckon you could easily slot into investment scam.
Okay.
The relics one, I was thinking it was going to be, because I was thinking that you could have bought them, so it was going to be a marketplace scam.
I think there was part of it. I think that you could also buy a piece of the True Cross, all that kind of stuff. There's the official church scams with these ones. There are other people selling, other stuff that was different.
Right.
And there was, of course, the vials of Mary's breast milk you could buy.
Health and medical product scam. I think it's probably just fraud.
And I'm sure there were the statues that bled from the eyes and all that. And I'm sure they were all literal frauds.
What are you suggesting?
Just put that out there.
Okay. As they did with Jesus' foreskin.
But tish.
Yeah. Good marketing material if one of us kicks off before this goes out.
Well, only if you've got some of your foreskin lying around.
I'd like to say I'm surprised by.
You shouldn't be.
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. I love the indulgences. And
that really is a kind of insurance fraud, because you're insuring yourself against the afterlife.
Well, and the investment scam. Yeah. Although technically Christianity in itself is an investment scam, if you look at it that way. It's a whole I'll pay now for something that I'm expecting a return on later on.
There's half our religious listeners gone.
Which half? The bottom half of the top. If we've got any Christian listeners still listening by now,
that must be their penance.
You'll be going to heaven without too much drama then.
And that's our history segment for this week.
So, CJ, what's your key takeaway from this mini episode?
Well, my key takeaway is when you say, hey, I've got exactly the right thing to do for a topic for an episode, is to not listen to you next time.
I still think Christmas is a scam. If you can get away with saying that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, I can say Christmas is a scam.
Well, okay, that's fair enough. Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie, though. Feel free to tune in for our next episode. CJ and Scott duel at 20 paces as to why Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie. What's your key takeaway, Scott?
My key takeaway is religion/Christmas is a scam. And I'm going to stick with that.
Alrighty. I'll leave you to throw your sack of puppies into the river.
Don't get me started on Santa. If you rearrange the letters, it's Satan.
Right. Well, I'll leave you to your descent into the depths of hell.
See you there.
Tune in for our next episode, CJ and Scott from Hell.
Merry Christmas.
And to all people who don't celebrate Christmas,
like me,
whatever you choose to celebrate or not celebrate, good on you. So thanks for tuning in to the Christmas episode of What's My Age Again? Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast app. Unless you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie, then I'm not really interested whether you listen to us or not.
Okay, and if you do think Die Hard is a Christmas movie, give us a 5-star review. Checkmate, CJ.